What's happening, guys? Today we're going to go over some Palantir stuff. This is the other company that I'm invested in. I know lately it's been mainly Tesla videos, but that's because their earnings are coming out soon. And that's like pretty much my number one position. But I'm slowly building up a pretty large position in Palantir. I really believe in the company long term. And the cool thing is they release a lot of these videos on their YouTube channel. And it gives a real insight into what the CEO thinks and how he, you can make some speculations as to how he might execute and what he thinks about certain things. So this one is the one with Alex Karp where he shares his thoughts on some stuff. And this is actually, they have this thing called the interview series. So I would highly recommend you go there and watch that first. These are just my thoughts on it, just general research stuff to see if, if I can nitpick some golden nuggets out of there and say, okay, you know what? I'm going to allocate this amount of money into Palantir the next time I start buying shares into the family's vault. Anyway, so let's get started. Let me put it up on screen here. I'll put the original link to the video in the description below. Let me know what you think. If you like what I think, then leave me a comment below. If you like and dislike, that kind of stuff. So let's get into it. Oh, I like this band.
We've gone from a company, we crossed the billion-dollar GAAP revenue market. There is no reason this company should not be 20 times bigger. We both.
Okay, just a quick thing though. It's very important when you watch these videos to make the distinction of what the company is and what the stock is. I used to make this mistake too a lot until I started to realize what the problem was. It's very easy to make this mistake with Tesla as well, like companies like this, right? Just really out there, Palantir is just starting to get some traction in terms of who's actually buying in and all this kind of stuff. I've been in this thing since the direct listing, but company is what the company does itself. Stock is essentially what me and you or whoever else is going to buy at what price, really, right? So sometimes it takes some moments before the stock reflects what the company's growth is. Sometimes it doesn't at all. There's multiples. There's just so many different things that go into play when it comes to stocks. But the company itself, you really, as a long-term investor, you just want to know that the company is growing. You don't care much of the stock. The stock will appreciate when it appreciates, but if you truly believe in the company, then this is really, it's a solid start. Like he started off this video saying this. So anyway, just wanted to make that distinction.
Overestimate and underestimate ourselves in private, but the version of Palantir I see is that when we were in Palantir in 2008, we had a half a product held together by people who were willing to live in a skiff. And that product now powers most of the intel services in Europe and stops terror attacks that otherwise would have turned Europe into a different kind of Europe where walking and that would be very, very far outside the norm on the right side.
There's something to be said about what these guys do. One of the major reasons I invested in it is because I truly believe in one of the messages that they're portraying. But what he's talking about here is kind of similar to that message, which is they're really trying to secure the values of the Western world and the things that people have built in the Western world. Okay, like it looks to me like they've been helping a lot with terrorist activities in Europe, preventing probably some major attacks. These are the kind of guys that work in the background. You don't really hear too much about it, and you shouldn't, right? Because when you do, it's usually a bad sign. So kudos to them. They saved lots of lives potentially, but you can tell that he's really proud of that work.
So we fundamentally changed the history of America and Europe by stopping terror attacks. We had a failed product which we overcame. We built mini products that we're aware of, Guy and others, that other people don't know exist, but actually power a lot of the efforts you see in the news. We launched Foundry, which is definitely, inarguably, the most successful product in the world in what we do. By the way, in any other company, it'd be 400 products with 1,000 salespeople on each one.
Okay, so let's get a few things straight, guys. One of the reasons I decided to invest in Palantir, well, not the reason I got in, but one of the main reasons I'm planning to hold it long term, is because quite honestly, the way they are right now, they have no competition. So, any idiot can understand that AI is really the future of everything.
Well, then you're an idiot.
I'm sorry?
I said you're a bloody idiot.
These guys have a purpose-built product that rises, that basically starts from AI. It's not a product that is reinforced by AI or anything like that. The primary offering of this company is basically artificial intelligence for, specific tasks and things like that. So I'm very generalizing here, but that's what he means when he's saying, the best product, right? Because it really is. They really have no competition. Somebody can say Snowflake, but remember, Snowflake for the most part, and I've used Snowflake's products very, very, very limitedly, but let's just say that it's basically a product that is reinforced with AI, right? Anyway, the second thing you mentioned is there's something to be said about these IT companies nowadays, especially SaaS companies, right? Because the way they maintain their growth and scale is basically just sell. There's 3 pillars to IT companies, which is basically software, advertising, and sales. And most other companies, and I work in corporate IT. I've seen it. You basically have teams and teams of salespeople that have no idea what the technicalities are. They just want PowerPoint slides and like screenshots of stuff, and they're like, you know what, give me something I can sell. And that's basically it. The sales ramp is absolutely massive, and they need a huge team to execute those kind of verticals. So, a lot of these companies that have like crazy levels of sales people that are selling the products usually have a pretty subpar product. I can name a few, but we'll get into the video of that later. Just want to say that it's very true. A lot of corporate IT, tons of salespeople, very little tech, and they basically just try to recycle that same thing with small features, upgrades, and that kind of stuff. So, good substance here.
We re-galvanized our American image, which I think was suffering under being private for too long. We became not only neutral in America, but exceedingly charismatic. We're the only company that DPO'd with people of its own leadership, people at Palantir, especially new people or people who are younger, which is many people at Palantir, assume that in a normal company, the people run the company, own the company, and are interested in the company working long term. This is mostly not the case. We were able to get into the public markets without selling our souls to the vicious, vacuous, and otherwise idiotic forces of banking. We're not in the...
Okay. Palantir did a direct listing rather than an IPO. You guys can look up the differences, but let's from a very, very basic, stupid level. When you IPO, you usually go with some kind of a company like, Goldman Sachs or something, right? And they'll basically set up your IPO, and your initial shares that you release, a lot of actually, like, let's just say people that have, the right inclinations will actually be able to get the stock first. So when someone says, oh, the stock IPOs, actually the most recent one would be Airbnb, or it's supposed to IPO like $67, right? But I think the first day it went up to like 130 when it actually hit the market, mainly because there's a lot of folks that buy it, and then as soon as it's a market, there's an arbitrage out there where they make profit. Palantir just went direct listing, which basically actually helps us retail buyers. So like one of the first large positions I took, I bought it at like 11 and they IPO'd at 9. So it benefits us retail investors. Like, I have a huge profit on Palantir, just because I just held for a year, right? So I think these guys know that they don't want the shiesty people from, corporate banking America to start filling their pockets in the beginning. They really just want to do what they do with their business and let the right people that believe in them invest. So I really do appreciate that, this decision.
Business of sales, we're figuring that out. I'm sure we'll talk about more. We are doing great efforts to figure that out in Europe and in America. Within the context of our Hegelian culture, meaning that we're going to have the contradiction of real service, real product development, real implementation, and sales, not just one or the other. And the thing that I'm most proud of and keeps me most motivated is, Palantir's culture, of course, shifts and changes, but this company is not actually run by any one individual. It's run by our culture, which still attracts among the best people and keeps among the best people in the world. honestly, for many of us, because we're smart enough and wise enough to know the alternatives suck. But so it's not maybe that we're as good as we want to be, but the alternatives luckily really suck. And enough people have left Palantir so that, one of the frustrations of building the company is people who'd like gone to Stanford, my alma mater, and obviously somewhat overrated school for those of us who went to.
Okay, I guess he's gonna go on to talking about a school thing. I'm not too familiar with Stanford, so you guys gonna have to fill me in, whoever knows. But I don't know. He said that the company is run by its culture. I think that's kind of a dangerous comment. He did mention that everything else sucks, and that's why some people are here, and that's fair. That's fair. Like, if you're somebody who's interested in AI, why wouldn't you want to go to the company that's doing the most in the space, right? Everybody else just has some sort of like nothing to really compare. Like, okay, picture this, right? The difference between AI companies and really everybody else is how like AR and VR were different, right? So you have your augmented reality and you have your virtual reality. One is actually the real thing, you can experience it. The other one is sort of just like a shell of what it's supposed to be, and it's actually, to be honest, quite a bit of waste of time. So these guys are purpose-built AI companies, and that's, I think, what he's talking about. But to say that your company is run by culture,
What a great honor to be able to introduce for the first time.
I don't know, could be kind of toxic. IT is becoming kind of a toxic space now. There's a lot of like super sensitive people that have just gotten into it, and just, I don't know, it's my opinion, but everyone just gets offended with everything. So it's a really tough sell for me if that's what you say the company's run by. It's a little bit of a flag, but not that much, because I think the majority of the leadership controls a lot of the shares anyway. So even if it is run by the culture, they make the decisions at the end of the day, and they will always make the decision to move the business forward. So, and that's all. I can appreciate that. So anyway, let's continue.
In any case, this culture that we have is something we have to fight for. I believe the way we took the company public in DPO was very protective of that, but obviously there are lots of things to figure out and do better. In a normal company, people have normal roles. And that's part of the reason why it is hard for people who join here, who've had lots of other experience, to join here. The higher you go at Palantir, and the lower you go at Palantir, I hope, the less defined your role is. And my role, in the way I conceive it, is to help insert qualitative variables that will be relevant, are relevant now, or will be relevant in the future, before they can be codified in an algorithm across the company. A business does not win where you are just working on things you understand. You have to work on a lot of things that are not understandable. But very simply, like, why was PG better than Metropolis? Because we made a bet that the world would move.
That's two of the products that they're working on, or are working on, and currently leveraging to their clients.
Move towards a world where data protection and civil liberties were important. Why did our DPO work? Because we made a bet that this was the right timing. How do we overcome the resistance of, sometimes well-meaning actors, institutions, and sometimes, quite frankly, the malicious forces of laziness as embodied by the IT departments? How do we get the structure to reflect it?
Okay. I think I need to do a video set on this whole corporate IT stuff, but corporate IT, majority of the companies, the higher you go, the more you're trying to just save your ass and your job. So the higher you go, the slower you work. And what happens is, a lot of times people intentionally place roadblocks in front of you just to extend the process a little bit. So in my case, and I can't speak to everybody, this is just my case, but I hate that stuff. And I've had stuff where we've worked on timelines that are like 4 or 5 months, but it actually gets extended to about 8 months to a year. It's almost more than double, just because somebody wants to continue getting paid. So huge drain on the company's coffers. So I know what he's talking about when he says the disease of laziness. Very, very, very understandable for me. Very close to me, to be honest. I get very frustrated with this. Anyway, let's continue.
This culture, and these things end up being a rolling, cascading, chaotic thing that invariably I work on basically all day. So I think like when people work with me, they expect I don't know why, like some kind of like very normal meeting structure where we're going to sit down and go one point to the next, to the next, to the next. I'm not denying that can work, and many of you work in that structured way, and it's clearly productive. But that's not actually how you get what I can help the company with into the company, and not so much at Palantir, but definitely when I see too much of that at other companies, I really wonder, what are they hiding with these long meetings, as opposed.
Okay, this is the point I was alluding to earlier. Corporate America, or corporate IT America, I would love to show you my schedule. I can't for obvious reasons, but literally get booked for the entire day with meetings. Most of them are just garbage, or it's explaining really dumb stuff to like really, really stupid people. It is quite hilarious how there are so many people that are jobless, people including my father, who are very smart, and yet I have to work with like really dumb people that don't understand very simple things that they really should know as part of their job, and they book hours upon your day so that you can explain it to them. Anyway, that's just a mini rant, but it's very true. They book meetings for hours. Like my day, I only have 2 hours in a day where I can actually do my job. And if I wasn't efficient, I would not be able to get stuff done. So, you know, say for it what you will, but you know, it is a scourge and a problem in the industry of IT. So take it for what it is.
To getting to the unvarnished truth. That's what you have to do to get to be disruptive. And you know, we should never forget, we are maximalist outsiders. Nobody is ever going to buy our product. No one's going to buy our shares. No one's going to actually show up and stick up for us unless we are unique, differentiated, and the best. And to get that best to work, you've got to get things that don't fit to fit together, like sales and engineering, like two engineers that have very different views. Like even just building a product, you're going to need someone who can conceive of the product. You're going to need someone who can conceive the front end of the product. You need someone who can buy the product. Then you need someone who can actually make the product ship. They all dislike each other, as you know from building these things, or not to the point of dislike.
It's true.
But it's like it's very hard. See, the more technical the people are, the more but that's the reason why we're standing here. That's the reason we get away with being unique, because we've actually done this. And every normal company does this a half a time and acquires 20 companies. We've done it at least 5 times. And like the iceberg of our product development is not even exposed to the world. They don't even believe we're going to do it. Normal software companies produce once. So normal investors look at Palantir and they see something, okay, no one can do this 5 times. And they're going to wake up to a world that we play a very, very big role in. If you're going to buy like some weak product that barely works that you install, you can't then say, but what happens when the product is 50 times more complex than it is now? And the complexity that we are up against in the world is a complexity that Palantir embraces. This is why we attack and structures. This is why we go after the most talented people. This is why we built the culture to make sure we keep those people, because we're presupposing radical increase in complexity, and everyone else is presupposing a Disney fairy tale that I don't think anyone ever even believes anymore. But
bro, this guy is so savage. He's hitting on all the points that hit IT corporate America, or not forget America, corporate IT in the Western world. Okay, I keep saying corporate America, it's just a thing, but corporate IT in the Western world has all of the problems that he's describing. Okay, and even Palantir clearly has these issues, but they just have a general culture. I think that's maybe what he means by culture, that it doesn't put these first, right? There are certain maybe like internal policies or internal unwritten rules that allow for people to be a little more efficient with their time rather than, jerk each other off and and just collect a paycheck, so to speak. So, but man, he's absolutely savage. This guy is like, he reminds me of like Elon in his younger days, where he used to call out like, New York Times reporters and stuff. This is, I don't know, man. He speaks his mind. I love Alex Karp for this. You need people like this, because it's like, you need to know where their heads are at. They're the ones who are, spearheading this company into the future. You need to know how they think, how they act, right? If they're very jaded behind a wall of just like, political correctness, or even just like awkwardness of like being a CEO type people, you're never going to get an insight into the company and what you're actually buying in terms of the shares, right? So this is great. I really appreciate Alex Karp for his candor, to be honest.
You know, the mission was why we started the company, and it is really crucial. But I would say like watching Palantirians suffer through a deployment, for me, the most compelling is the work we've done. Example of this is the work we've done in COVID, especially in the U.S. and Britain. Just like, it's so motivating, and it makes me want to also do a lot of shit I honestly don't want to do. That I wouldn't do otherwise. I'm always personally surprised, but it's like, then I think of some Palantirian and all the crap that you're going through. It's certainly more painful than what I'm going through. And then I think, yeah, well, if they can do that, I definitely have to show up and do this meeting that I don't want to do, or fly somewhere. But it's very, very compelling, and I know I'm very, very grateful.
Okay. Man, general takeaways. Alex Karp is a gem. This company is a gem. Like what he said towards the end there speaks volumes to people that actually work. Like I can't speak for everybody, but for myself, like I work my ass off. I literally work 10 to 11 hours a day with 2 young kids. And I can tell you, I'm not looking for any recognition or anything like that. But when your CEO or whoever owns the company, somebody higher up comes and tells you, oh, you know, like I can't really understand, but I can see that you guys are going through some hell, and it's kind of, you know, inspiring me a little bit, even if it's a little bit of fluff, which it could be. You never know, right? You got to take it with a grain of salt. But the fact that there's a level of realization, it goes a long way, right? But anyway, I think I'm ranting at this point, but yeah, man, I think this is a great interview. I'll link the original one below. Watch the whole thing. This video is obviously longer than that, so I would highly suggest you watch the original interview first. But yeah, let me know what you think. I'm super bullish on Palantir. I think he's saying 20x the company. I'm saying like at least 10x the stock in the next 10 years. I mean, it's a very solid play. And I'm really excited to see what these guys are coming up with. And I think they are the future of this world. So let's see how it all works out. Catch you guys later. Peace.